So what is the best canner to use if you want to get into pressure cooking? Hello and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer and I actually have 3 options for you. And I will let you know what my thoughts are on that. All right, so let me go in order of how I obtained them, okay? So when I first started thinking about being prepared and having food on hand and worrying about my freezer failing, because I did have a problem where the door was left ajar and I came back and everything was already starting to melt. And I thought at first that that it had broken down before I realized that there was something that was keeping the door from sealing all the way. So it really made me think, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, because what if the freezer had broken? What if we had gone without electricity for a day or two? What would have happened to that huge investment in the freezer? And we actually have a couple of freezers here right now because we have my in-laws here as well, and so we have another freezer where we can have some additional food for them also. So I decided to start learning how to dehydrate and starting to learn how to can. And so anyhow, this is the first canner that I got. This is a Presto, and it is a 20 quart canner, and it has a little thing here that you stick on there, and it's got a pressure gauge, so it tells you where you're at. And for where I am in the high desert, we're at about 2,400 feet of elevation, so I need to have it for most recipes that I've been looking at about 12 pounds. So I need to keep it up at about that, right? So anyhow, it can hold a lot. It can hold 2 layers of cans. Just give you an idea of the size. So if I want to do quarts, I can do quarts, and I can do a half a pint, or I can do 2 layers of pints, or of course I can do 2 layers of half pints, or a combination thereof. But the thing is that with this canner, it is so big and heavy, because even though your timing is going to be things like 75 minutes for pints and half pints, 90 minutes for quarts if you are doing meats, which is what I do a lot of. It just takes a really long time for the steam to build up, and all that time doesn't count in that 75 minutes or 90 minutes. You got to have it come up to temperature and be releasing steam through this for 10 minutes before you even get the clock started. And then you put this on, you wait for it to get up to the 12, and then your clock starts from there. So it is really an all-day sort of affair when I'm doing anything with the 20 quart, because it just takes so long, and of course preparing the food to begin with, which is why raw packing, that saves you some of that time when you don't have to spend as much time prepping it. You just are stuffing your cans, but it still takes a long time. And if you let it go down, you're not watching it, you got to start all over again, and it's just, anyhow. So I don't use it that much because it just takes so much time. So I was lucky enough to find this one at an estate sale. This one I got as a like a store return, an open box. So I got a great deal on that online. I don't remember, I think it was either eBay or Amazon, but I think they normally run somewhere around $120, and I got it for a lot less than that. So always keep an eye out for estate sales, the Facebook Marketplace, that sort of thing. Just make sure you got this little doohickey. But a lot of times you can find parts for these. This one has a rubber gasket. This one has a rubber gasket. This one has a different type of little jiggler that you adjust. So it doesn't tell you the exact amount, but it of what you have. It doesn't have a gauge, but it has like 5 pound, 10 pound, and 15 pound. So whatever your recipe calls for, you put it on the next one up. So if mine would be 12 pounds for my height, I would put it on 15, and then I just have to keep it so it's maybe jiggling just a little bit, but it's not like full on, coming out. So anyhow, that's important to keep an eye on that, because it needs to be at pressure, and it's harder to kind of tell what pressure you're at with this. So again, it takes your time and energy. You have to watch this to make sure that you are keeping it at the proper temperature on that. This one is an 8 quart, it says on the bottom there, and it will fit, not 8 quarts, because that's 8 quarts without being in here, but it'll fit for quart jars in there. Don't recall how many of these. I haven't done those, but obviously it's only going to be one layer because there just isn't enough room in there to do anything more than that. So great for doing something a bit smaller. I've only used this once though, because shortly after I got that, I discovered that Amazon was having a huge sale on this. This is an Instapot Max. So normally they run about $150, but Amazon was having a sale where it was only $75 and free shipping because I have the Amazon Prime. So I got this. And the wonderful thing about the Instapot Max is, again, with these other two, you have to sit there and you have to watch it and make sure that you're at the precise stove temperature so that your gauge is at the right spot. With the Instapot Max, you just tell it what you want. So you hit the canning thing, you tell it you want max pressure, and it will tell you where you are in the process here. It'll tell you when it's pressurizing versus when it's cooking, and then when it's going down. You can tell what kind of venting you want, whether you want it to vent out all at once or you want to just let it naturally vent out, which is what I did for this last go round here. But the major draw side to this is that you can't fit any quarts in there. I have to use the larger ones for that. But you can fit, so this is called a 6 quart, but again, it's not really 6 quarts. I can fit 4 pints in here, or I can fit 6 half pints. And I will show you what I got finished over here. So this has just finished canning. Let me get something to pull those out.
Hey, Editor Jen, jumping in here real quick. I forgot to emphasize that this is not a normal Instapot. This is an Instant Pot Max. Only the Instant Pot Max has the canning feature. So we're not looking for just pressure cooking, we're looking for canning. So make sure you are looking for the Instant Pot Max. I'll put a link down below to the one that I got. And one other great thing about this Instapot Max is that, of course, when you are doing pressure canning, you have to add a certain amount of water to it. So for my other 2 canners, no matter how many jars you have in there, on that large one, it needs, I think, 3 quarts of water, and I don't recall what the smaller one has because I haven't used that one as much. But it doesn't matter how many cans you have in there, you're only supposed to put in that set amount, and there's a line on there that you just go ahead and fill to before you even put the cans in, or the jars. For the Instapot Max, it says in the directions to put enough water where you are 1/4 of the way up the jars. So if you're using pints, it's going to be a bit less. If you're using half pints is going to be a bit less, and then pints you're going to, be a little bit higher up on the jar. Anyhow, I just discovered inadvertently another safety feature. I forgot to put in any water when I started doing my last batch. I just totally forgot. Put the lid on, hit go, and after about a minute or so, I was getting this odd beeping noise that I hadn't heard before. So I went and looked at it, and it said, "Caution, food burn." Food burn was coming up on the display. So I opened it up because it hadn't pressurized at that point, and I found out I hadn't put in a single drop of water. So of course, it was determining that something was not right here. So just to make sure I wasn't going to have some sort of thermal shock and everything, I let everything cool off. I added the correct amount of water and then went through the processing, and everything was fine. But anyhow, just another benefit of the Instapot Max is that it has that kind of safety feature in it, which is really good. Continuing on.
Because they're still going to be hot. All right, so what I did here is I've got ground turkey. So when we use turkey, my father-in-law doesn't like to eat a lot of beef for health reasons. So we have the ground turkey. This is raw packed. And you can see there's still some little bubbles going on in there because it's only been finished venting here for a little bit. So I'm going to just wipe that off and put it on my towel here on the counter. And being raw packed, I didn't brown it and chop it all up fine. I would just do that afterwards when I go to use it. I just put it in the pan and then break them all up and use it as ground turkey and put that into either a spaghetti sauce or use it for tacos or anything else that you would use ground beef or ground turkey for. But the great thing about the Instapot Max is that I use this so much more. In fact, I went and bought some more of these pint jars. I got a bunch of, half pint. I got a bunch of these pint jars at an estate sale. And whenever you get them used, of course, you got to make sure that there's no cracks or anything on the bottom. Make sure this is all smooth. And buy new lids, because the lids, especially from an estate sale, they've probably been used. Even if they haven't been used, I have had some that were brand new in a box, but out here in the high desert it's very dry, and these lids were just not holding a seal. So I got new ones, and I also got some of the Tatler ones, which I'm still getting used to because I've been having some problems with siphoning. If you rush the process at all and you open this up before it's had time to really cool down, open that, because I'm impatient, especially using this large one. It's like it's already been probably 5 or 6 hours in the making after I'm gotten everything prepared and it's cooled down, and I just open it up and then I ruin it because of the siphoning. It brings out that liquid, gets in between your rubber seal and the glass jar, and then it doesn't seal properly. You don't ruin the food that way because you can still use a jar that doesn't seal. You would just stick it in the refrigerator. So you just have to stick it in the refrigerator within 24 hours, and then it'll have a shelf life of whatever you normally put in the refrigerator anyway. But anyhow, all that to say that Tatlers are a little more complicated to just get that right, and I'm still working on it. But anyhow, I've just been using this all the time now, so I had to get some more of these smaller containers, and then so I'll use this one whenever I have to use quarts, or if I've only got a few, I'll use the smallest one here that I can still put quarts in. But this one is by far and away now my favorite canner, because I can do so many other things while this is cooking, and I don't have to sit there and have eyes on it to make sure that it's maintaining the proper temperature. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What have you used in the past? Do you have a preference, a favorite canner? Have you used the Instapot Max? I know that there are some people who are like, well, it hasn't been fully tested, but what is her name? Redhead does canning, and that is one of the people that have really inspired me to try this sort of thing. I think her name is Rose. Put it down in the comments if you remember her name, and I'll put a link in the description if I can remember to find that. But anyhow, she is a scientist at heart, and she has these nifty tools, remote temperature gauges and things that she put in this Instapot Max as she was doing the canning. And so she has all her details and everything, that it did keep things at the temperature and the pressure that it needed to be to can it safely. So with that information in hand, I think I could definitely recommend that this is a safe canning method to use, so long as you're following the ball canning guide, and you know what all you're supposed to be putting in there. So in any case, thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you have any other suggestions for what to can. In this time of uncertainty, it is really reassuring to have food on the shelf, to have food stuck in the closets, to have food just stuffed up to the rafters. It just gives me a feeling of peace with all the chaos that's going on around us. Anyhow, God bless, and I'll talk to you next time.